Okay, let's get into audience questions for the week. First one is, hey, David, everybody's obsessed with critical race theory, but do its critics even understand what it is? Some of them do and many of them don't. I saw one conversation with Mark Lamont Hill and I don't remember who the other guy was, where the other guy had no idea whatsoever. We covered it. The other guy had no idea whatsoever what critical race theory was. And every time Mark Lamont Hill said, okay, fine, you're against it, but what is it? The guy deflected. He clearly had no idea. I saw a different conversation that Mark Lamont Hill had with a guy from some sort of, I think it was like a center-right think tank, not one that I was super familiar with. And the guy could at least list some people who he believed were influenced by critical race theory, even though Mark Lamont Hill said those aren't really critical race theorists. And he had some more connection. Now, you could argue I disagreed with the guy or I agreed with or whatever, but there are a lot. If you're asking me about your aunt's posting stuff to Facebook about critical race theory, most people don't know what it is. And it's not an insult or an attack. Critical race theory, much like many of these theories, mostly exists in the academic world. So it's sort of expected and natural that tons of people wouldn't know very much about it. It's just become popularized through controversy such that you have a whole bunch of people who know nothing about it who are talking about it anyway. Now, I've given my perspective before on what it is and what I think about it that is valuable and less valuable. And a whole bunch of people got mad and wrote to me, and many said, that's not really what it is, or you're sort of partially right, or whatever the case may be. I think that at a certain point, there is a sort of no true Scotsman fallacy you get to with a lot of these things. And this is really common with Jordan Peterson and his followers, actually, where anytime I would try to do a critique of something Jordan Peterson said, a significant portion of his followers wouldn't actually engage with what I say, but rather would claim, that's not really the position of Jordan Peterson. You're bastardizing what Jordan Peterson said. And to some degree, this is happening on both sides with critical race theory. There are people who, when confronted with a reasonable critique of critical race theory as it applies to some aspects of society, will say, you're not being honest or you don't understand what it actually is. And then you either have a conversation about what it actually is, which sometimes goes somewhere and very often doesn't. I've seen some online live debates about it where they can't even define what it is, and it's just a worthless waste of 3 hours, and that's sad. But you also do have people on the right who reflexively oppose it in total, even as a framework for analyzing any aspect of society, while having absolutely no idea what it is. I think the best thing to do, first and foremost, is just understand the structure and let the other person tell you what it is you think they believe it says about society. So critical race theory, much like most critical theories, has its basis in Foucault, postmodernism, post-structuralism. You could argue Jean-Paul Sartre. The framework should at least generally be understood. The importance of language and the way we talk about things within such theories, you should generally have an understanding of. Its connection to economics. And again, this is where some people will go nuts. So I even hesitate to say this, but you can make the case that the type of analysis has some roots in Marxist thought. Now, it doesn't mean that to believe in critical race theory, you have to be a Marxist in a literal sense. It's just, we're talking about some of the overlaps. And most people don't know that. Even just these basics, most people do not know. The right is caricaturing critical race theory as it's the story that all whites are racist or even white supremacists. And that's the lens through which everything must be seen, period, full stop. That's an unfair caricature of critical race theory. There's plenty to criticize about critical race theory based on a real understanding of it. There's really no need to go to nonsense stuff like much of the right is doing. But to answer the question, do critics of critical race theory even understand it? If you're talking about what you're seeing posted to Twitter and Facebook and much of social media and even what's happening on Fox News, the answer is no. The vast majority do not understand it. During the pandemic, and even at this point, I try to avoid physically visiting a doctor's office unless I really have to. And that's why I love our sponsor, SteadyMD Primary Care. You take a quiz, you get matched with a licensed primary care physician who's a good fit for you. You have a 1 hour virtual appointment and you start a meaningful relationship with your new doctor. After that, your doctor is available to you anytime by text, phone, and video chat. And unlike other services, this isn't some random doctor on call. Each doctor at SteadyMD has a limited number of patients so they can give you the personal attention you deserve. They can help you with anything your primary care doctor normally would: healthy diet, managing conditions, weight loss, sleep, depression, anxiety. You don't need insurance. It's just $99 a month with absolutely no other fees or copays for visits. Take the free quiz and see which doctor is a perfect fit for you. Go to steadymd.com/Pakman. There's no risk, no long-term commitment. The link is right underneath this video.